I was just one of a lot of children growing up in the, New York metro area. And, millions of them just like me. And sometimes I look back and I just kind of marvel. I grew up in an Irish and Italian neighborhood. All my friends and neighbors had names like Murphy and Donahue and McDonough and Sullivan. Everybody went to a Catholic school. I went to a Catholic school, and I guess in some ways that was my first exposure to thoughts about God. It wasn't really an important part of my life. It was something that I did. I guess I had a respect for God. If you asked me if I believed in God, I'd say, sure, I believe in God. But it didn't affect my decision making. It wasn't sort of an active part of my life. I didn't think in terms of having a relationship with God. We had the Power of Positive Thinking, Guidepost magazine. I was a real serious runner in high school and college, and it's like I tried to use it to my advantage, the power of positive thinking, and there were scriptures in there. And I remember one of the big themes was, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and visualize your success. And I never really quite understood that through Christ who strengthens me part. But I can do all things, I can achieve my goals, and it's like I tried to get it to work for me. But it wasn't really touching my heart, and I never really met anybody, that had this idea that your life needed to be changed and your heart needed to be touched, and you could live a new life and be born again. And if you'd asked me, I would have considered myself a good guy, right? If life is graded on a curve, I was, in the middle, or, between the middle and the top of being a person that does what they're supposed to most of the time. And I didn't think I was in any sort of spiritual danger. I didn't have a sense that God was very unhappy with me. I would have thought I was doing okay. I got to college, and, I joined a fraternity. I kind of had this view, wanting to live life to the full, have cool friends, and be cool myself, and all that sort of thing. And I was into it my first year, and that's who I wanted to be, and that's kind of the life I lived. I was still spiritually, I still was kind of asleep. I was unaware. Spiritual dimension, if you'd asked me what that was, I couldn't really put words on it. There was the physical dimension, I suppose. There's the mental dimension. I guess there's emotion someplace, but spiritual, I don't know what that means, really. Things started changing my second year in college. One of the times I remember very well, it was in December, and I had a roommate. He was starting to read the Bible, and he would ask me questions, and I'd just say whatever I thought, and, looking back, I'm sure none of it made any sense. He started asking me these questions like, what is God like? And I would say things like, God's God. God's, all-powerful and holy. And, he kind of walked me through this little picture of what God is like. God is holy, and God is loving, and things like this. And at one point in all of that, he said, do you know why Jesus died on the cross? I thought that should be an easy answer. I've been going to Mass once a week, and there's a statue of Jesus on the cross. Surely I should know the answer to that. And I took a breath to answer him, and all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, I don't think I know. And I said, I don't think I know. And that's when he explained to me, and he said, well, Jesus died on the cross because he needed to die on the cross so that you could be forgiven of your sins, so that everybody could be forgiven of their sins. And that was like new to me. And I heard him say that, and I knew he was getting involved, with a campus group, but he was kind of new at this too, and I wasn't so sure he was right. And I was like, are you sure? I mean, God's God, right? Can't God just say, hey, you're forgiven and I'm forgiven? Isn't that all it takes? I mean, God can do anything. So Jesus having to die and having to suffer for me to be forgiven, it just sounds like that shouldn't be necessary. And that was my response. Like, I wasn't really sure he was right, but at the same time, I was shocked at my own ignorance. Like, I don't know. I should know that, and I don't know. And it made a big impression on me. It kind of worked on me. And he finished talking about it, and I was kind of, I think I was very self-confident in those days, but, I was kind of like, oh, I need to check into this, because maybe he's right. And surely, this is the kind of thing I should know. And so I would go to the public library, and I still remember it's like 248. If you go to 248, and maybe it's even 248.7, they have all these books on Christianity. And that's kind of my way of trying to, research and understand and figure out if my friend was really right about this. And by the way, that's a very imperfect way of trying to learn about God and what Jesus came for, to go to the library and read books about it. It didn't really occur to me to read the Bible. But, Catholics don't read the Bible by and large, and it just wasn't on my radar, and so I didn't. But I would read many books a week. I mean, 4 or 5 books. I would, I might not read them cover to cover, but I would read them substantially, and I was starting to put this picture together of what Christianity was about, what Jesus came to do. And so at that point, I realized he was right. And I realized that sin was important, and I started becoming aware of my own sin. That kind of started changing everything. My perspective started to change, and I was gradually waking up. And Jesus says that no man comes to the Father unless the Father draws him. And I wouldn't have been able to tell you that then, but now I know that God was drawing me. God was trying to expand my world and open my eyes and help me see what's really true. And during that time frame, I was becoming aware of sin, and I realized, like, I do a lot of things that I shouldn't do. Like, as you start learning about what God is looking for and the standard, I started feeling like I should do something. Like I need to address this somehow. Being Roman Catholic, the way you deal with that is you go to confession. Just a year previously, I was just oblivious, but now I was starting to realize everything I do isn't right. These are sins. I need to deal with this. And, I remembered as a child, have First Holy Communion and penance, and so I need to do that. And there's a whole ceremony to it. There's a, prayer called the Act of Contrition. And it's a prayer that you're supposed to know all the words to, and there's this protocol thing, and you're supposed to, go and say, bless me, Father, for I have sinned, and there's some words that come after that, and I don't know them now, and I didn't know them then. And the other thing is I hadn't been for years. I'm like, how can I remember everything, So I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna like ask for a blanket. Like, I'll tell them what I can remember, and then can I kind of have a forgiveness for everything I did that was wrong, that I haven't remembered and haven't told you. And that's what I was going to do. And I was pretty nervous. You know, when I was growing up, they had this kind of 3-closet system. The priest is in the middle, and then there's a closet to the left and a closet to the right. And then when a person is kneeling on one closet, then there's a light from the outside that turns red, right? And people are queued up. And so then when someone gets up and leaves after they're finished, then that light turns green, and then, you know, the next person in line goes there. Meanwhile, the priest turns to the other closet, right? And there's this little window, and you can look in, but it's almost like a box office window at the movies, and that's all you see. He can't see your face, you can't see his face, and you just talk, and the sound goes through the little hole, so it's sort of anonymous. You know, it was my turn, and I went in, and, you know, so he's like, okay, proceed. And what he meant was, say the act of contrition. But I couldn't remember the act of contrition. I said, can you help me out? And, you know, he was kind of, you know, impatient, a little upset with me, right? Because I didn't know how to do this thing. And when I was kind of got through the things I could remember, I said, okay, and can you know, is there some sort of blanket, you know, forgiveness, I'm good to go, even if I didn't tell you about it, because I couldn't remember, because it's been so many years. I just don't think I could remember everything, so I could be forgiven. And it didn't sound like the answer was yes. You know, it didn't sound like, yeah, don't worry about it. It was like, no, like maybe I'm still in trouble. And when I was a child growing up, you know, you get these penances, right? And so a penance is like, you know, you confess your sins, but you're still not off the hook until you go and say your penance. And he might say, you know, say 3 Our Fathers and 2 Hail Marys. And then you say those prayers, and then, you know, you're done and you're forgiven. And it's like my mind went blank. And I couldn't remember these prayers, that I knew these. And I just remember thinking to myself, I don't believe this. This has been a traumatic experience. And if I can't remember how to say these prayers, it's all for nothing. You know, I'm still unforgiven. And I think finally the words came back to mind, and I said those prayers, and I kind of left, but I felt worse than before. That sense of sin, that story about Jesus dying on the cross, it just stuck with me. It just kind of changed me. I started noticing that okay, I'm just not going to do that anymore. Well, I wasn't really able to do that. And I remember feeling again, not too long after that, you know, I think I gotta go to confession again. There was something inside me that just didn't feel satisfied with that. I was in a good place. I wasn't really sure. All the things that I had thought were so cool, you know, that I just was eager to be right in the middle of, and the fraternity and fraternity life, and, you know, the kind of stuff that goes on there, all of a sudden it seemed kind of empty, you know, and I started feeling like I was, you know, pretending to have more fun than I really was. You know, I started saying, is this really all there is? Is there more to it than this? You know, it's like, well, you know, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a party on Saturday night. Okay. And maybe the freshman year that was really cool and fun, but the next year it really wasn't. And, you know, what am I doing this for? I worked really hard. I was up past midnight most nights. I was a pretty serious student, but, you know, I did pretty well, but there was still sort of this emptiness. Well, you know, people would say, well, what am I doing this for? And, you know, well, you can graduate, and you can get a good job, and you can get married, and you can have a good life. And even that, you know, that would have been fine a year ago, but yeah, but is that it? I mean, is there more to it than that? And, you know, these were the kinds of things that were on my mind. They were weighing on me. And, you know, and then after a while, you know, life in the fraternity, I mean, people would just do really foolish things. It's like, you know, I don't think I would want to be like these guys. I don't think, I didn't feel like one of them anymore. And I remember going for walks, like I just wanted to get away. And, you know, I just go for these long walks on this mountain and look up at the stars, and it was just peaceful somehow. It was away from all that. It was, you know, I just feel like there's more to life, and somehow I want things to be different, you know. And I remember one time I was on campus and they were giving away these Gideon Bibles, you know, and I actually wanted one, you know. I didn't want to talk to the guy, but I wanted one. Or if there was a tract, I was interested. And, you know, I had very little understanding of the Bible, but I found Psalm 23, and I found, you know, Matthew chapter 5, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, you know, things, and they kind of spoke of a different world. I think I wrote the 23rd Psalm I wrote it in my handwriting, and I put it in my wallet. And if I was in campus and I needed to take a break or something, I'd pull it out and unfold it and read it, you know. And it's like most of the Bible didn't make sense to me, but those two things made sense to me, you know. The Lord is my shepherd, and it was just something peaceful. It was just something, there was a lot of competition, there was a lot of hard work, there was a lot of struggle, you know, in life, but somehow when I read those things, I kind of got this little glimpse that there's this other world, there's something else. I was kind of in this insecure spot, but I was kind of reading the Bible through that lens. Like, is this telling me I'm okay, or is this telling me I'm not okay? And I wasn't really sure, but I actually made it a goal at this point. I really want to understand the Bible. That's what I want to do. I lived in this house. It was an old house, and they turned it into 4 apartments. And there was a young college student, and she invited me to this Bible study. Says, would you like to go to a Bible study? I'm like, yeah, I really do want to go to a Bible study. And I think I really shocked her when I said that, because I did. And I wanted to go. And, you know, it was kind of and I started going to this, and, you know, it was kind of the first time I'd really been exposed to someone that just had deep convictions, and they seemed to understand the Bible, and they seemed to understand God. And it's like, you know, I like this guy. I think I want to be like this guy. You know, like this, there's something about him that it's just attractive, and it's like I want to model my life after that. I don't think I would have said all that at the time, but looking back at it now, I think that's some of what was going on, you know, and the things that just a few years ago, all the worldliness, all the coolness, this other person I wanted to be, you know, wealthy and successful and all that stuff, that was all fading away. Again, God drawing, and there being something, you know, something attractive about truth. And I ate it up. I mean, I wanted to learn all I could, get all I could get, because I was interested. There was kind of a hunger about it. But at the same time, there was this life, right, that I had lived kind of for myself with, you know, no spiritual guidance. The kinds of things, I'll say this, it's kind of something to be ashamed of. This was kind of an important moment for me. You know, I'd known this young lady, and we had kind of broken up, and I went back home, and that's where she lived, and I knew where she worked, and I kind of hung around with her. You know, I was bound and determined to be really charming, and, you know, kind of put on the show. And it's almost like, it's like I wanted to make her like me, and then I was just gonna split, okay? And I think these are the kinds of things that go on in relationships sometime. And I'm not sure how calculated it was going to be, but that's what it boiled down to. And I was driving back, and I think I remember being kind of proud of myself, you know, that I had pulled it off, and I was Mr. Charming, and, you know, I was just going to play it cool and, you know, just go on. But I was kind of smug and proud of my performance. And so, but, you know, at the same time I was going to this Bible study, and you see what I mean? There was all this mixture. There was this two things happening at the same time. I was driving, and there's this really tough curve, and it was raining, and I lost control of the car. I crashed into it was a right-hand turn, and I crashed into the guardrail on the other side of the road. That really rattled me. That really, really rattled me. And, you know, shortly, and I would still try to kind of pretend everything was cool, but I knew it wasn't. And then that's when it was kind of dawning on me too, kind of the sinfulness of what I'd been doing, right? That kind of performance that I was so pleased with myself about. That's how wrong it was. It started to dawn on me. And, you know, and I could have been killed, and look who I am, and, you know, God is real. And there was just a lot of turmoil in me for, I don't know, 2 weeks, something like that. And then I went to this Bible study, and we read a scripture from, I believe it's in 1 Thessalonians. While men are saying peace and safety, destruction will come upon them suddenly, like labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. And I really felt like that just kind of cut me to the heart. I felt like that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to say peace and safety. I'm trying to say, hey, everything's cool. I was just kind of felt this turmoil on the inside. I was trying to present something very different on the outside. And when I heard those things, I said, that's talking about me. I know it is. And I just wanted to get out of that room. And the Bible study was over, and it was this gorgeous, you know, early July evening. It was on a college campus. The sun was low in the sky. It was kind of hitting the faces of the building, and I just wanted to walk. And I remember just thinking to myself, you know, I'm hopeless. I mean, I think I see who I am now. I think I see what I'm capable of. I think I see not only what I'm capable of, but what I've actually done. And I can see why God would send me to hell. I can see why I deserve to be in hell. And that's what was on my mind. But I didn't want to look at people. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And that was the thought that was going through my mind. And, you know, I kind of got back. The man who was leading this thing, he said, hey, Bobby said, you know, you went out for a walk and looked like there was something on your mind. And I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I said, you know, well, Bobby has a big mouth. Like, you know, I wish he hadn't said anything, because I just don't want to even be near people right now. And, you know, we talked for a bit, and, you know, he kind of shared the truth and said, you know, this can all change. You can be different. You can become a Christian. You can give your life to him. You can be baptized, and you can be a new person. You know, all this can be forgiven, and you can live a new life. And I wanted to do it. And so we did. And he got in the car, and, you know, he drove me to a place where there was water, and, you know, I was baptized, and I was emotional, and, you know, that was the beginning of a new life. But if I look back on it, there's just kind of those points along the way, the conversation with the friend, me realizing that I don't know why Jesus even died on the cross. Certainly, of all things, I should know that. Kind of, just eagerly reading those books, all those different things. Those were ways that God drew me, trying religion and, the attempts at things like penance and, that would somehow forgive me, and knowing that it hadn't. And, nevertheless, there was kind of this hunger and the Bible and, different things along the way that I feel like God drew me to himself. And then he just kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world, that spiritual realm that I was so oblivious to. I started, like a new baby, opening their eyes to to a new world and having to use their eyes for the first time. And life's been very different ever since. My value system's changed, my whole perspective on life, on what's important, on what's not important. The answers to those questions that I would have, like, well, what is life all about? I mean, it has to be more. It has to be more than kind of this study hard, get a job, get a house, get married. There has to be more than that. And what I've discovered is that life's about following him. Life's about learning his ways. Life is about relinquishing your own life and not having autonomy and surrendering yourself to be at his service, whatever that may mean. And in surrendering our lives and not pursuing the things that are so important to our own hearts, that somehow as we make the things that are important to him important to us, and we set aside all of our goals and all of our dreams, we find that he does something really special in us. We find that he satisfies that ache and that void that's inside all of us. And that's been my experience. And, so I've been following him for over 30 years now. And it's just been a remarkable journey. And so glad he drew me.